Welcome to the wardrobe department of the L Word.
One component of the show raised all eyebrows, some quizzically. Riding the high heels of Sex and the City, the L Word redressed the lesbian image in very haute couture. But the Birkenstocks and flannel were harder to clean out of the closet than anticipated.
A lot about the show was trying to break out of stereotypes politically, visually, in all those sort of arenas. So fashion just fell into that naturally.
The people on Friends are better looking than most straight people out there and more witty and charming. The women of the L Word match that paradigm.
Rose Crochet fought really hard to try to keep it as real as possible, but you know how that goes. It's television. What do you do?
I didn't want it to be, a kitchen sink drama at all. I sort of wanted it to be slightly more realistic. But then again, I'm coming from an East Coast mentality, creating like a West Coast show.
We started to challenge the way lesbians think they should be looking or need to be looking to be able to be identified as a lesbian.
Look at the shoes. Would you wear high-heeled sandals with tapered jeans?
Yes.
No.
We had to do a show like this because it was the first of its kind. And on that level, I think it had to be a little bit of the fantasy. It had to be a little bit shinier and glossier.
On our show, lesbians do carry purses.
Eileen's version of it is a very enticing world. A lot of people don't necessarily tune into TV to watch gritty reality. They want a bit of escapism.
If I was to envision the show back then, I think everyone would have been in jeans and t-shirts, and I don't think it would have been as dramatic or heightened or soapy or any of those things. And guess what? I think I would have made a really boring show.
Just call me Elise, the bisexual fashion victim. I'm sorry, is my hat too much? A little.
The first response, the first blush, there were a great many women who came at us and said, I don't know any lesbians like this. My thought always was, this is television.
Be gay, be proud, everybody!
Being at the helm of the L Word has been meaningful because of the numbers of people who've come to us to tell us that the show has actually changed something for them.
You changed the world a little bit when you wrote me that letter. You really did. And if you stick around, you could help change it a lot more.
Through the years, the show stayed close to real-life controversy. While California currently staggers through the ongoing fight over gay marriage rights, with even the show's writers and directors protesting the passage of Proposition 8, for years, Bet and Tina have been a representation of what such inequality actually looks like.
Which one of you is the mother?
We both are.
I need you to put one name only.
Are you kidding me?
We go to the hospital and they won't let us both sign up as being, both our names are on the birth certificate, but they keep asking who's the mother. Well, we both are.
This is Los Angeles. There are same-sex families on every fucking street corner. She was born in this fucking hospital, and both of our names are on the fucking birth certificate, so why don't you just give us a fucking break, you bureaucratic maggot, and get our daughter in to see a goddamn doctor? Please.
Bet has to go through, a home study to adopt her own child.
As the show progressed, we were able to make more and more progress trying to represent an array of different types of lesbian representation.
There's never been a character, first of all, who is deaf and lesbian on television, so that's certainly groundbreaking in itself. I'm the actor who got the opportunity to play the first deaf lesbian on television. And certainly it's good for all the people out there who are lesbian who happen to be deaf to see something like that.
Anytime we took on something that could be considered an issue, we took it on from the point of view of human drama. Things that occurred in the lives of our characters and therefore became stories in our show.
But arguably, the most controversial storyline was that of a beloved character's fate.
Dana, this is not a death sentence.
Cancer. I think it was March or April before we went up to shoot in May. So a couple of months before we started shooting. I'm having they found a lump in my breast, and so I'm having it removed. It's routine.
A lump?
I found out within 2 seconds of each other. It was Dana has cancer. It's like, oh my God, that's terrible. Cool, and then she's gonna die. Oh, not as cool for me.
You know my thoughts on it. I never agreed with it.
All right, well, fuck it. What time?
I think we should all go. Laura's gonna be there. It's fine. Laura's gonna be there. It's okay, really.
That was really hard to accept for not only the cast, but for the viewers to go through, because it was the first time one of these characters went through something that deep.
You're beautiful.
We got a lot of feedback, you know, we loved that character. How could you guys do that? You know, she was so great, she was so funny. And the answer is, yeah, she was all those things. And unfortunately, she had cancer.
Are there any special foods that I'm gonna die?
It happened too quickly.
I remember being just like, oh my God, we're just killing this person so fast. And how is this realistic?
People became really fearful. If you're going to give someone breast cancer, let it play out realistically, because it was a very exaggerated time frame for one of that age. And someone who's such a pro athlete to have that, it just didn't seem to measure up.
That's always the battle in television. You have X number of episodes a year. I mean, that's when you wish you had like 22 episodes to be able to handle these things in a good and respectful way.
Hi.
The scene where Dana's lying in her hospital bed and all of her friends are around her, every tear was real. It's very sad for me. I was leaving a family.
We love you.
Had I known how very powerful the reaction would be to Dana's death, I might have reconsidered that storyline.
Her blood pressure started to fall. And in spite of our best efforts, we couldn't bring it back up, and her heart failed.
I believe in the story we told. I think that it was a really good story and true, and I think that we told it with sensitivity and attention to detail, and I think that it was a very important medical story that we told.
It was an incredible experience to be able to play a character that went so deep into her own mortality.
Always inherently linked to women's issues, the series also tapped the zeitgeist of lesbian culture, with the first regularly occurring transsexual character in television history.
When I found out the extent of the role and that I was going to be part of representing a trans character on TV, I understood the weight of that. Not even misrepresented, just like never represented almost ever in the mainstream media.
Jenny and Moira!
Daniela C. has done a really great job.
Welcome home. Come on in.
It's been a challenging character, and I know that she's worked very hard.
Moira, do you go by any other name?
Oh, not really.
She sometimes goes by Max.
Max, fantastic. That's a nice name.
It was a very important story to tell.
The story of outsiders in general, people who feel like outside of their own skin and kind of are set apart, that's a pretty universal story, that everyone at least knows someone who's like that, and everyone feels that way a little bit inside themselves.
One of my favorite episodes is the lobster episode.
Just have a salad and a side of fries. How much is that?
$14, ma'am.
Max is coming into this group of women, and it dealt with issues of class. Besides the transgendered issues, which Max really brought to light.
I know something interesting about lobsters. When you cook a pot of male lobsters, and they realize they're in this pot of boiling water, they start making these little ladders and helping each other get out of the pot. But female lobsters, they all just start grabbing each other, and they're like holding each other down. They're like, if I'm gonna die, everyone's gonna die. It's a real shame, isn't it? Okay, I would like to state this for the record. I wish that Max could have represented the working class and stayed at that level instead of having to then meet the rest in the glitz and glamour in the second season and wear fancy suits and shoes and everything. But others would say, well, you want to see marginalized people succeed, and that's good to have a good example of someone succeeding in the society as a trans person. So I have to also be willing to concede to other people's wisdoms as well.
With Max in the minefield of gender politics, the character of Tasha landed squarely amid military politics as a soldier battling the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. Since the 1994 Armed Forces ban on openly gay service people, over 12,500 men and women have been discharged. So Tasha was more than relevant.
Coming out of the military, post-traumatic stress disorder, and all these things that happened, there was so much to be explored in terms of Tasha.
There was no question when we took on the Tasha character that we would do a Don't Ask, Don't Tell story.
Commander's recommending your discharge from the United States Army Reserve for homosexual conduct.
The Service Members Legal Defense Network invited us to their gala fundraising dinner. And the thing that was so moving beyond everything else was the way in which people reacted to Rose.
This is my first speech ever, people, so bear with me, okay?
There were so many women and men who came up to her, many of them in uniform. Some of them had been chaptered out of the service, and they would burst into tears and tell her that they never in their wildest dreams imagined that they would see their stories portrayed on television by a character as noble and aspirational as Tasha.
Thank you, especially to all of the gay men and women who are suffering under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. and for living your stories of bravery and conviction and letting us, all of us, tell your stories.
It seems so wrong now to have my personal freedom denied to me within my own country. It seems wrong to watch the person that I love be interrogated like a criminal when she did nothing wrong.